Welcome to Unscripted Coding. We have a pretty amazing episode in front of you today. I'm going to pull up this image because this is what we did just a few weeks back. And if you're confused, so am I. This is not meant for humans to look at. It's a texture file. And you can see there are bits of cereal. I think there should be cans of coffee. What we did was we went into a Safeway and scanned part of an aisle. And in that video, just a few weeks back, we took that scan and we threw it into a VR headset. Really, the idea was to prove that it's possible. We took an iPad Pro, we took 10 minutes, 20 minutes to just scan the aisle, and we threw it back into a VR headset so we could re-walk that little section of the Safeway. That is pretty cool and amazing because I'm taking consumer electronics, iPad Pro, a little bit on the high end, Oculus, VR, not exactly every day, but it's there. It's possible in the hands of everyday people to start scanning and creating digital worlds very easily. Safeway, not the ideal location, but you can totally imagine taking it with you to a park, taking your iPad with you on vacation and scanning something a little special. Today we're going to do the same thing. Is this the ideal setting? Not really. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3 files we got from our iPad and we're going to try and 3D print it. We're going to prep it and get it ready for 3D printing. So that instead of scanning the world and recreating it virtually, we're going to recreate like a tiny model of it. What did we get for these 3 pictures, or these 3 files? Well, the very first one is an object file. That is your plain 3D scan of the object. You don't see textures, you don't know what it is. For example, this box of cereal, all brand cereal, might just be a rectangular prism. No, what am I thinking? Rectangular, well, a box, let's say. You need textures to actually figure things out, and this is where this JPEG file comes from. That's all of the details, all the colors that go on top of the 3D model. And finally, the MTL kind of stitches it together, where on the 3D model, where does it correspond on the texture? What we're going to do, because if we try and print this straight up, it's not really going to work very well. So instead, I am going to find Blender on my computer. Oh, what am I doing? I already had Blender open. Just a moment here. This one. I'll just close the second one. Okay. Blender is a free 3D modeling program. It's very powerful, very good, and free and open source. So what we're going to do really simply is just drag this file in. I think a drag and drop work. Nope. What we're going to do is actually import the file, and it's an object file. I'm sorry, I'm just going to move off screen so you guys don't see my file browser. Object file, where did I put it? Over here, very good. And it's just going to take a moment because it is quite a large object. Give it another moment. But the idea is a scan from an iPad is actually quite detailed. It's not perfect, but it is extraordinarily detailed. And when you try and 3D print something like this, there are just a lot of faces and also a lot of these gaps. Look, it's just floating in midair. How do you 3D print that? What we're going to do is get rid of some of this because I think I'm just going for a proof of concept here. And we're going to print this out. So I'm going to take one of the shelves and print it out. And I'm thinking this one right here is going to be simpler. This one on the right. Oh, before that, Blender tends to just do it grayscale, so this is how an object file would look like. If you want to see the textures overlaid, you're going to have to click this button right here so that you can see the shading as well. You zoom in, now you can see how our shelf would have looked like. And here we go. You know, this is how things look like at Safeway. And you can imagine standing on the floor and seeing things as it. But we don't really care about that, especially if we're 3D printing. Of course, you don't get all the colors. You just get one solid block of plastic. And it's more going to look like this. So the first thing we're going to do is select this and go into edit mode. And we're going to shave off all the points that are not necessary. So, how do I do this? Let's zoom out and select. I'm going to take all of this and just delete all of the vertices. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to have to toggle X-ray. And we'll do that all over again. Delete. And delete the vertices. There we go. Simpler. And what I want to do is delete the floor because that's not really going to help us. Doing this very roughly, as you can see. But if you take a look at these points, this is what the iPad is doing. It's just creating a ton of points. And even though these are more or less flat surfaces, there are thousands and thousands of vertices. And we don't really care about that. So once we clean up just a little bit of the edges here, and I want to get rid of this little bit over here. Just bear with me for a moment. Not doing this in any kind of calculated fashion. Just trying to trim down. And the other thing is I just want part of the shelf, so let's trim the edges where I didn't get a great scan. Trim the edge here where I didn't get a great scan. Didn't get a complete scan, let's say. So we're getting part of a shelf. Okay, so let's go back into object mode and take a look at it again. This is how we see our shelf, and we can see it's just a bunch of cereal boxes. But if we 3D print this, there's just so much. There are gaps, there are holes. The computer isn't going to make great sense of this. So we're going to try and fix up the image a little bit. I am going to come here into modifier, and the first thing I'm going to do is what I call it, decimate. And what this means is, look, there's 247,000 faces. That's a lot of faces for a bunch of square boxes. So I want to just radically simplify it to 20% of the face. And let's apply it and see how it looks. And look, it didn't actually change all that much because flat faces don't really need that many complex shapes. So we could even decimate it further, but 49,000. Let's go a little bit further and apply. Not much of a change. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to remesh this. This is going to try and get rid of all of the disconnected pieces. And it's going to try and simplify the overall shape. You can see this is pretty abstract looking shape. And that's because we haven't set a very high depth yet. So we can go smooth. That's better fitting if you have, say, a round ball or something quite round. Sharp, we're choosing sharp because we have square cereal boxes, basically. So we're going to go with sharp, and I'm going to try a depth of 8 and see how that looks. That's not bad. Okay, I'm gonna go just a little bit further and go with 9. We're sorry, it does take a moment. So if you don't have a beefy computer, decimate your more and more of it. But I wanted the scale a bit higher, so I think it goes up to 9 or 0.99. So it's not gonna let me go up to 1.0. But there you have it. The computer has tried to figure out as best as it can how it should look like, remeshing and fixing the obvious hole. It's not perfect. In fact, it's quite far from perfect. You can see that it's tried to fill in these gaps. And what you can do afterwards is take this object and start sculpting. I don't have an artistic muscle in my artistic bone in my body, but what you can do is start molding various pieces. So if I wanted to create a blob that sticks out, let's say over here. Okay, let's say I want to expand this out. I can create a blob. And my computer's just struggling a little bit here. But let's create more of a blob. You can see that bulge out just a little bit. Boy, oh, I see. We didn't actually do the remeshing yet. So let me remesh this first. So apply that, and then now we can start moving. There we go. And we can bulge things out. We can create creases. I'm not sure what that does, but you can start removing pieces as well. So let's grab this and move. Some place, whoops, draw. It's probably closer, but oh God. As you can imagine, you can really start just removing sections that aren't perfect, and you can start smoothing other areas too. I think there is simplify piece. So over here, these surfaces can be simplified geometrically. Okay, so once you've done that, really, you can start printing. I think this is going to be problematic, but we don't have the same gaps as before. You see how everything's quite closed off? I think we can probably print this with a bunch of really bad supports. So what I'm going to do is export on another screen this as an STL file. Most of the 3D printing software is going to be STL standard. So I'm just going to do this, export STL into that same folder, export it. It's going to take a moment. And we have it right here. So the next step is you take your favorite 3D printing software, and for me, I use Ultimaker Cura. It is really good. Excuse me. It is a really good all-in-one 3D printing software. It's going to figure out all of the supports that you need, just do a lot of the hard work that used to take like 3 or 4 different softwares together. I'm going to throw my file in here, and you can see for whatever reason it's very tiny. We're going to scale it up. I don't think I need it that big. So I'm not planning to waste a lot of plastic here because I don't think it's worthwhile. But I wonder Let me just throw this in here as well. So you can throw in an object file. It's trying to parse through everything right now. But I suspect without this treatment beforehand, it's going to have all sorts of errors. So let's wait it out. Yeah. So let's scale it up. Okay. You can see these highlighted areas that is missing or extraneous. It's going to cause all sorts of problems to try and print this. Let's not even bother rotating it, delete it out. But this one is perfectly fine. Move this out. What we're going to need is a bunch of support. So I don't know if you guys do a lot of 3D printing, but you can't just print in midair. The idea is you print one layer at a time, and probably the best way to do this is to show, to actually slice this model ready for printing. But if you are printing one layer at a time, you can't just print in midair, and some of these pieces basically start in the middle of nowhere. And so what you want to do is print the supports, and you'll rip off the supports afterwards. Whoa, this is going to take 3 hours. I'm going to make a much smaller piece than that. But let's preview this so you can see what I mean. Okay. As you print, you are printing one layer at a time. And over here, you see these straight bars? These are the supports that make sure that you can actually hit those things that are floating in midair. 3D printing is tricky depending on how good your printer is. Mine is crap. You can do different angles. So for example, you have one point and you expand outward, you are still connecting to a floor and you're just circling larger each time. Different printers are able to hit different angles. And so that's why you have a different overhang angle. I am not going to do this one. So let's prepare this. I'm going to shrink this down because I really just wanted to show you guys that it is possible to do this. And I'm going to really cheap out on the infill as well. So let's go 30% infill. And let's see what we get from here. You see, this is a really dumb idea to build, because what you should be doing is scanning actual useful things, scanning a statue, scanning a rock. This shelf is incomplete. We're getting one side of it. It's just a poor idea through and through. Still an hour and 44 minutes. That's longer than I thought. But what I'm going to do is save to disk and throw it on the printer, and we'll come back when we're done. And here we have it. Very tiny, You can see it captured just some of the details, but not perfectly the details. Again, there's absolutely no sense in creating something so small and having all these little notches, especially with a cheapo 3D printer like mine. But it proves the point of you can do a 3D scan, you can fix it up, and you can have a physical object afterwards, as well as, of course, the VR experience. So, I hope you guys found that interesting and useful. If not, let me know. But if you did, thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.